I'm not even joking. It's so
It is-
cold out here.
I
And
went out
I've got-
yesterday. Just took it. I mean, that's why I got an early night, because it was freezing. I swear
I don't
to you,
want to.
literally.
I don't even want to start with this. My hands are
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
rocks because I'm outside in the shed. But I don't even want to start the conversation here. So you just showed me, for the visual listeners, what is that?
No, audio listeners. Oh, wait, no, for both. Yeah. Well, it's a Monzo business card. We're not sponsored. I will just say that. It just Will told me to get one, so I did. And I haven't actually done anything with it yet, but I need to sort my money out.
Not in a
Yeah,
weird
we're all about
pyramid.
finance on this podcast.
Not in a weird pyramid scheme sort of style.
No.
But anyone that is listening that does maybe run a business or wants to start content creating, I know it sounds maybe like a little bit of hassle and ag, but I would definitely advise it. And the reason I say Monzo to you, Leo, the ease of which you can do everything with that is ridiculous. It's so handy to set up to different platforms if you need it for accounting down the line. It's so handy to send things over, to put tax aside. I won't dive into all the boring details of it, but it is super handy. So that's a
what does Nate Diaz say? Well, you know in that interview with McGregor when he's like, "Was this the money channel?" That's literally us right now.
I have no idea
talking
what
about money, man.
I
Not
do know
seen
what
that?
you mean
That
when they're
interview with
doing the
Conor
side by
McGregor.
side.
Yeah.
They're doing the side by
I
side.
put that in one of my videos today. It made me laugh. Yeah, I was hoping you'd get that.
Wasn't it with
I don't
Eddie
even know what it
Alvarez?
was on.
And then he said, "Don't talk about money when you're talking to me. You went on welfare."
No, that's a different one. No, that's a different one. That's the 205 one. There's the Nate Diaz and McGregor one. They're talking about, the interviewer keeps asking him about money and their wealth and stuff rather than the actual fight, which it's hilarious. It's very funny.
We've started all over the place here.
I know.
So
Episode 26, MMA Creators Podcast. We're in every Sunday. I'm not even gonna plug our stuff because I think like people who this time we're not even doing it. We're just gonna jump straight into it.
never do
so
it.
What we
You
got?
always do
UFC
it.
Austin.
I think don't bother.
What's the point, man? Yeah. All right, screw it. Yeah, we'll just jump in there. Screw it. We got Dariush Tsarukyan, UFC Austin, which I've got the card of. I can't lie, filthy card from top to bottom. I'll just let you give me your thoughts. What are you thinking? I mean, I'll give you the main event. I'm assuming you know who you got there, but
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm really divided.
It's quite a close fight, actually, the more I think about it.
I've spoke about it a few times, and I'm a massive Beneil Dariush fan. And he's dangerous everywhere it goes. One of the highest skilled guys in the gi, in the MMA, but also his MMA jiu-jitsu's off the charts. He does have good wrestling, does have great scrambling ability, and he hits very hard. And we have seen from Arman Tsarukyan, if we sort of close our eyes and look at his career as a blur, super talented, all the skills, fought everyone already. However, he has had times where we've seen him rocked, we've seen him stumbled. And yes, Beneil definitely has. But I just think the bigger edge that I can find in this matchup is power to Beneil. Other than that, it's pretty close across the board. It's pretty close across the board. And I look at this main event and it's just a question of, is it the passing of the torch? Or is it a case of Beneil saying, you know what, I had a bad night against Charles Olives. It wasn't my day at the office. It was one of them. And let's not forget about that 9-fight win streak. I'm coming for the belt. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad for one that we're finally getting a matchup like this, because I've always said for the longest time that Tsarukyan's just been a guy that no one wants to fight. And he's kind of been on the sidelines, weirdly, for quite a while in terms of waiting for that elite level, top 5 matchup. And now he's finally got it. I think it's his chance to shine. He's not going to miss this opportunity because he's waited so long for it. Because obviously he had that fight with Ismagulov, which was very impressive. Was that his most recent performance? I think it was. It's been a while. Maybe I'm wrong there, but it's been a while since we've seen him in the cage. Unless I'm wrong, I might have egg on my face there.
He took that short notice opponent. That's what I'm thinking of. So I can't remember what the original matchup was, but someone stepped in last minute.
Silva. Yeah.
And he fought him. And
he has had a fight since then.
He was on skates.
So that was in
June,
actually. Yeah.
He was on skates in that fight.
Yeah, that's
I remember
true, actually. That was quite no one really expected that. Because Joaquim Silva's he's 12-5, not like in terms of the level of opponent you expect Tsarukyan to be, dominating. It was quite a surprise. I remember, he got rocked and he fought well and came back, which again, that is actually a positive. I think we talked about that when they're happening. You know, being able to show that resolve
True.
to come back from adversity. Like the other week with who was it? The guy with the afro. You know, the young up and coming American kid who got rocked in that first round and then came back.
Talbot.
Same sort of thing, right? That's it. Yeah, Surfer Boy.
That
Talbot,
used to be the pub. That
I
used
think
to be the
showing
pub
that
on the corner
resolve.
next to my uni house. That's why I remember that, the Talbot, and it was one of those EDL pubs.
Talbot.
One of those proper EDL pubs. Yeah, proper Brexit.
Boozers.
Yeah, it was a boozer. It was a boozer, and there were suspect
Proper
characters
boozer.
down there. And anyone that is not from the UK, I think always once you just need to experience going into a place like that and just soaking up the culture, because you see some characters.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you need to.
No, you know what? Let me rephrase that. You never need to do that ever. Yeah. You never need to do that. And let me actually tell you, your life will be better off if you never do that. Let me just spin it the other way.
Probably it's a net positive if you don't go in there. If you have
done that, it makes for some funny stories, because you do get some crazy people that slip into cracks of society you didn't even know existed until you met said people.
They just exist.
People that have interests that you never even knew about until you met said people. However, big side tangent. Sorry, as you were.
Very. Anyway, yeah. Tsarukyan, yeah, I mean, he's still young in the game, 27 years of age compared to Dariush is 34. So, you know, you're entering that sort of transitional period for both guys, where one of them's hitting their prime, one of them perhaps maybe a couple more years in that top level of lightweight before he starts to taper off. So, for me, I'm going to go Tsarukyan. I think they're both very competitive grapplers. And obviously, as you said, Dariush definitely has that power advantage, but I like where Tsarukyan's going with his career, and I just want to see him more active, because obviously I know he only fought in June, so not too long ago, but he deserved that top 5 shot, you know, last year, and he didn't get it because no one really wanted to fight him at all. So it's going to be an interesting one. I don't. If Dariush takes that win, it's going to be on the feet. I don't see him out grappling Tsarukyan. I think he's too crafty. I mean, this is the guy who, probably the only guy who's been able to, you know, out grapple Islam Makhachev at points. That's my. I know I don't like using MMA math, and I don't think you ever really should, but you look at that performance against Makhachev, and that was, you know, very early on in his career. I believe that was his UFC debut, if I'm not mistaken, was against Makhachev, and you know, he lost the fight, but it was very close. It was competitive, and in hindsight, that's aged beautifully. And I think for me, I don't think there's a lot of grapplers better than Tsarukyan out there, especially now. And he's only going to get better as he, you know, gets older. He's going to really hit his stride. So for me, I'm going Tsarukyan, just decision. But Dariush is what I like. It's a close fight to call.
The last thing I'll say on that is, because Tsarukyan is so good in the grappling exchanges, I'm not saying it will, but that could play to his detriment in that fight, because he has been in there with everyone grappling wise. He has been in there with, I believe it was Gamrot, right? He's Islam, he's Gulov.
Yeah.
Look at the talent.
Beat the hell out of Gamrot.
It's off the charts. It's crazy. So you look at someone like that, he is going to be confident. He's going to be comfortable there. But with Dariush's skills on the mat, you don't want to be comfortable at any given second, because he will snatch a leg, he will snatch an arm so sharply. And that's the thing, is he will put himself in more compromised positions. But you look at things like leg locks and calf slices that Beneil's got in abundance, it's very, very quickly over, you know. It only takes a second. But let's not debate that one too much.
It's a great fight,
because there's a lot of good fights on this card. Let's be honest.
We'll burn through them.
Yeah, we said off the record that this could easily be the main event for a pay-per-view. No sweat, and obviously a main card. Sorry, and obviously Dan Hooker pulled out with a broken arm against Bobby Green for a 5-round cone main, which would have been fun. But Jalen Turner stepping in. What do you think about that?
I like it for Turner, man. I think it's a weird one with Turner, because you look at his record and, you know, immediately the eye, you'd be like, this guy can't be that good, right? He's 13-7. You know, but you look at his skill set and he is elite level. And I think you put him in against anyone in that last fight against Dan Hooker, they're not eating that head kick that Dan took, because that was flush.
That was wild.
You know, yeah. And how old is Turner now? He's still, you know, young in the game.
Just
no, he's 28, so he's hitting his prime.
Yeah, just below 30.
Yeah, 28. So with that size advantage he has at lightweight, which I still don't understand how he even makes 155, and really hitting his stride now. I really like him in this fight. As much as Bobby Green keeps winding back the clock, and getting these wins, really impressive win. Obviously, it was against Tony Ferguson, but still, the name value's there, right? And I don't know. I mean, for me, I think youth prevails. I think Turner's going to have the speed, the reach, the length. I think everything just physically and mentally, to be honest, goes in his favor. Sort of going into this fight for me, even if it's on short notice. That's the argument you can make maybe for Bobby Green, who's very crafty to his credit. So, enlighten me, expand.
Well, you said that's the only thing I've got going for him.
Well, you say momentum, but Turner's on a loop. You say
Sorry,
momentum for Turner is what you're implying.
I thought you were saying that you couldn't see that many ways to win for Bobby, and he didn't have many things going for him. I was saying momentum. Obviously, that isn't what you meant. You was talking about Jalen Turner. Apologies.
Yeah. Bobby Green's definitely got the momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
right,
That's all I was going to say, because obviously you have a look at you have a look at what he done against Grant Dawson, though. All jokes aside, that was wild. Like, let's not forget about that. Let's not sit here
Dawson,
and forget.
I completely forgot about the Dawson win. Oh my god, yeah.
This is
what
I'm
a
saying.
Knockout.
And he just knocked him out within a round. And I'm
Beautiful
a
knockout.
big Bobby Green fan, but I'm not sitting here telling you I thought he was going to spark Grant Dawson out in 2 minutes.
I don't think anyone thought that.
And you start having a look at the other fights, and that's the thing with Bobby Green, is he always says it, and it's very true. Until you fought him, you haven't fought him, because he is super awkward. He's very unorthodox. He will talk to you. He will pop jabs at weird angles. You won't really see his hands. He is comfortable in the pocket. Style. He does move his head in a very awkward position. He does have good defense, good eyes. He's a tricky opponent, and you look at this stylistically, and naturally you think about the size, like you said, and it's just going to be, how does Bobby close that range? How does he get to the inside of Jalen Turner? Because he is super long with those kicks and those punches, of which he does do a good job of using them at length. So it's going to be a fun boxing matchup, just to see how Bobby gets his way on the inside, or at least how he finds success in this fight, because it's not going to be easy, especially short notice. 5 rounds, I believe that they're still doing it. This is kind of a crazy fight. I'm gonna back Bobby in this one, just for the momentum and the camp and whatnot.
I like that.
Yeah.
just quickly, do you remember? I think I told you about this before. Do you remember that picture from like Bobby Green's really early pro career or amateur career, to be honest, and it's showing the tail of the tape, and it says fight style, and it just says Hood as his fight style. Iconic image. I've seen that so many times.
That's the type of guy we're dealing with. That's the type of person we're dealing with.
That's what I'm saying. He's unorthodox. Yeah,
refined by the fact that he's been cutting his teeth on the UFC circuit for the last 2 decades in the ranking.
Yeah.
Sorry, people forget that. Like, win or lose, if you're just swimming with the sharks for decades, it doesn't really matter what your record looks like, recent performances. That just takes a certain level of skill.
I mean, he's got 31 professional wins. That's crazy. That's an insane amount in MMA.
And he was at what, ridiculous. WEC before, or did he come over from...
I'm not gonna say something. I'm not gonna pretend I know. But
so this is the highest level. This is all I was saying. Game. Yeah, highest level.
Oh yeah, of course. Rob Font Figueiredo. This one's a really interesting one, actually, because it's a banger. But I normally I'm one to say, as I said, I mean, I said it for the Tsarukyan fight and the Turner fight, that age is always a big factor. And if I was using that argument, I'd probably be picking Rob Font. But I think people are really sleeping on Davison, I think he's the underdog going into this fight. And I believe so. I have to double check, but from what I've seen on the general discourse, Figueiredo seems to be the underdog. And for me, I don't really understand it. I think Figueiredo's going to knock him out. And I know Rob Font's got a chin on him, but I think Figueiredo will TKO him. I really do. I know he's coming into the tail end of his career. And really, this is his last run at another belt. This is it now for him. And he's already established himself in this sport completely. He's a former champion. There's no 2-time champion at that. But I think people are disrespecting, his power, really, and as if it won't translate to bantamweight when he was already, killing himself to make 125. I don't think he's going to look I don't think he's going to look smaller than Rob in there. I think he's going to look good. I think he's going to look fast. I think he'll keep that speed. I think he has that power advantage over Rob Font, who has looked quite defensively a bit of a liability at times. You know, good hands, like, you know, going forward, but he gets clipped quite a lot, and he's able to take shots well. But he does get dropped. He takes a beating, as he did against who was it? Chito Vera in his not his last fight, the one before that. You know, so I think there's past the victory for both guys. But I mean, Figueiredo is going to have that power to put him away. You know, with the TKO, I think not out cold because he's too much of a dog for that. But I like Figueiredo a lot.
When I thought about him coming up to 135, I've been saying this for a little while. I actually wanted it before the last Moreno fight, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, same.
And then they were asking for another fight. I thought, oh, please go up to bantamweight. That's so fun. That's so fun to do. And the reason why that is not only because Figueiredo has one of the most exciting styles in the UFC. You have to pair that with the fact that when you look at his conditioning and the pace that he fought those last few fights at, with Brandon Moreno.
Insane.
The fact that he was doing that depleted, 125 pounds, horrible weight cut, dieting all camp, and he could still perform at that highest level and go 5 rounds at that pace. And when I say that pace, we're talking the fastest pace MMA fights there probably ever has been, consistently.
Yeah.
2-3 times on the spin. Those fights were flat out from the get. Scrambles, wrestling, defensive wrestling, punches, ridiculous conditioning, just stupid off the charts conditioning. So when you look at that and then you think, right, he can spend the camp eating, being happy, training more with better quality, recovering better, sleeping better, enjoying the process better, hitting harder. It's just, when you see up close, now I've seen it a few more times in person. Now I've actually seen what a weight cut looks like, start to finish, to someone's life, not just to a fight, to someone's life.
Yeah.
And just how they walk into the gym differently, how they rock up to sessions differently. It's so many small things which go into the final product, which is that 15, 25 minutes, that when I think about Figueiredo doing that, optimized, being able to put on good, clean size, it's flipping exciting. And I know he's getting to the tail end of his career, but I agree with you. You look at matchups like a Rob Font, who are not as dynamic, who work on more fundamentals. I think there's going to be a big power discrepancy still. And I think Figueiredo is going to be able to rattle him a few times. And I think he's definitely going to be able to push the pace. And I think it's his fight. I really do. As good as Rob Font is. And I always probably go against him just a little bit, because we think of him as fairly one-dimensional, but he does have a good ground game. So it is a fun style matchup. I'm going to go Figueiredo, and I think he'll submit him.
Yeah. Submit. Yeah. To be fair, you almost forget he's got a killer guillotine, doesn't he? Yeah. That's a very good shout, actually. You almost forget about that because he knocks a lot of guys out.
I think he could
he's known for that power.
Neck.
Yeah. That's a good shout as well. I like that. Yeah, I mean,
or a limb. He's got long arms, Rob Font. You know, maybe a limb, maybe an arm bar.
Oh, we got a bit. You know, I was just speaking on that on submissions. I saw a massive spreadsheet on the percentage of submissions and the number of submissions since the UFC's inception. It's really interesting, isn't it? I didn't realize how few. You think about it. There's so. When's the last time you've seen like a clear armbar from Mount? Seriously, I know one, and from like recently. Just is a little bit. Just have a crack. See, just tell me what you think the most recent one is. I'm not actually sure if it is the one I'm thinking of, but
bro, come on. I watch 20 fights every weekend. I can't remember the last mounted armbar.
No, but the thing is, this is what I'm saying, because they're so rare.
Even a triangle. When's a lot? How many triangles happen that often? You know, clean cut triangle.
Our last triangle I even remember was Emmett versus Rodriguez. Sorry, Rodriguez versus Emmett. And that was a while ago. That was 290. No, sorry, that was 284. 284. So, yeah. Was that couldn't have been the last triangle?
There's definitely been ones in between.
No, triangle. But I would say from armbar, Gunnar Nelson at 286 hit a mountain armbar, which was clean as hell. So seeing that live was awesome. And I didn't realize how rare that was. Because I generally can't think of another one. I mean, yeah. I mean, bar Ronda Rousey. I was just saying, bar Ronda Rousey. I can't think of another straight up mounted like someone known for mounted
Oh,
arm bars
don't
like
be
that.
ridiculous. That's about 30 years ago.
No,
You're
no,
telling
no,
me
no.
in
I'm not
30
saying that's the
years we're
last
not.
one. I'm not saying that's the last one. But I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just that immediately springs to mind. You think Ronda Rousey, but that's so long ago. You're
No,
like, shit. They're just
Julia
not common at all.
Stolarenko.
Oh shit, yeah, that was yeah. To be fair, I wouldn't call that a
Bro, she's
conventional
got about 8
armbar from a
arm bars
mount.
on her record.
No, no, no. But I'm saying the one against Molly wasn't in
No, I
terms of, I
know,
know that
but
was
I'm just
recent, but I
saying,
wouldn't consider
we're
that.
talking arm bars. Anyway, let's move
No, no, no,
topic
no.
from who's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dominating armbar
I mean,
submissions.
there's a
But
couple
I
more
get
fights
what
now.
you
We won't
mean.
jump into
I
that, but
do get what
we can move away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
if
rare.
you're going to throw that out, you need to come with numbers. You can't just be throwing out.
No, no.
Come with the graph.
I just popped into my head. I don't have the source. All right. Actually, I can get it though. Hang on. I mean,
I believe it's
fuck it. We'll
actually
come to
the
it
fella
later.
on Twitter who makes all the graphs called Andy Hickey, I believe his name out. Shout out, because he does a good job of making those particular spreadsheets that you're looking at. He makes all of them. He makes all of them in the industry, and he just makes random ones, and they are just really
Oh
nice
yeah,
little
this one's of
sound
all the
bites.
choke finishes. I'm not sure how recent this was, but can you guess what percentage of rear naked chokes count for the out of
37.
48, just under 50%, 48.96. Pretty crazy, isn't
I
it?
knew it was high. It goes.
That's just of chokes, mind. So you might actually be right if you're thinking of all submissions. That sounds about right. So I don't know how.
I know rear naked choke, and then the next one is something like an arm triangle is kind of high up there. I can't remember what the second
Guillotine is number two.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
guillotine
that's
and then
it.
arm and guillotine, but count them as the same because the same sort of submission. And then it's triangle, then it's arm triangle,
Yeah.
apparently. That surprises me. I thought there would have been more arm triangles over triangles.
I
Then it's
think
a DAS,
nowadays
anaconda.
there's more arm triangles now, just with the more top aggressive style. Even jiu-jitsu guys that are coming over now, much more wrestling based, where it's like a heavy top game, a lot of top pressure,
Yeah.
and I think guys are catching that a lot more now. Could be making that up, but
I wish we had more triangles. I will always campaign for more triangles and more DAS chokes. Give me more of them.
More Paul Craig.
More, yeah. More Paul Craig. I can't believe he went for a fucking calf slicer the
Paul
other week. That
Craig
was
and
insane.
Tony Ferguson
Getting
on
rear
the
naked
card.
choked. Yeah, screw it. Fuck it. Put them against each other. Anyway, let's just round off the rest of this fight night. Just quickly. Sean Brady, Kelvin Gastelum's a fun one. I can't lie. I'm really excited to see where Kelvin Gastelum goes.
That's a crazy fight.
It's good, isn't it?
It's a crazy fight.
I can't wait to see Kelvin Gastelum back in there because he not only did he put in a great shift against Chris Curtis, which is and beat him on the feet too, which is a very, very impressive win. But he was so charismatic and sort of breathed new life on the microphone, which I absolutely loved. So we got a new hungry Kelvin coming in, Slim Kelvin as well. So I'm excited, man. I'm very excited to see Kelvin back. I'd love to see a fight sort of have a resurgence like that because he had a good few years since that Adesanya war, which I think just took it out of him for a bit, So yeah, I mean, there's we'll just have to see, man. I'm inclined to pick Kelvin purely just for the sort of romanticism of it all, but Sean Brady's wrestling is very, very difficult to manage. So who have you got in that? I mean, I'm gonna go Kelvin by decision, but that's just my 2 cents,
The way I would flip this is, what are the paths to victory for Sean Brady? And I think Sean Brady is super talented. However, his best attribute is wrestling and grappling, a sort of nice hybrid blend of jiu-jitsu, high-level jiu-jitsu, and good high-level MMA grappling. That's where Sean Brady's best, I would say, and anyone else would say. Let me get one thing clear.
I think most people would agree with that.
There's not any shock there. Let me get one thing clear. You're not going to be able to submit Kelvin Gastelum. He has no neck. Number 2, you're not going to be able to out-wrestle Kelvin Gastelum. He just has such a short, explosive stance. He has such good wrestling himself, and he's so good when it does hit the mat. If he needs to bounce to his feet, he is better. He is very good at working back to his feet, using the cage. He's very good at just getting out of bad positions, and he has an incredible gas tank that you're never going to be able to push a pace on. So he'll be able to do that 100% get. Now, what's the next thing we know about Kelvin Gastelum? Fantastic boxer. fantastic boxer for a very long time.
Very.
Now, I definitely believe he has the edge on Sean Brady there, 100%. And I'm very
Massively.
high on Sean Brady, but I know it was a bad performance against Beneil, but that is his last performance. Just boxing for boxing's sake, Kelvin Gastelum is a seasoned pro there, seasoned pro at the highest level. So I think this is a really tough matchup for Sean Brady to come back into. To go Beneil and then to jump into a Kelvin Gastelum at welterweight, that is a very tricky assignment. Very tricky double assignment.
280 was the last time he fought.
Mate, I look at Kelvin Gastelum, and I've said this for a while, and I will continue to say it. There is absolutely no reason why he cannot push for the belt at 170 pounds. I look at fights like Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think, wow, that's a brilliant matchup. I remember you mentioning that, to be fair. Fantastic matchup. He's not going to grapple with him, and he's going to what? Box with Kelvin Gastelum and leave his head on the centre line. Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. If I'm Kelvin Gastelum, he was probably frothing for that matchup, to be perfectly honest.
I like that fight as well, yeah.
100%. And then I look at him in the 170-pound division, and I think, well, what happens if that power's going to translate? Because he's not necessarily that fat. He just has a Dorito frame. He has tiny legs and a massive shoulders. Like a swimmer. Like a swimmer, really. And he's been out in Bang Tao in Thailand working hard. I've seen him working a lot on his elbows and his Muay Thai. So if you're looking at a Kelvin Gastelum with elevated clinch game, I think this could get very dicey for Sean Brady. And I think it could get dicey for the rest of the 170-pounders. And if he can consistently make that weight and he doesn't get lazy and want to just go, I'll do it with 185, what do we know of Kelvin? He mixes it in there with the best and has done ever since he was, 19 years old. He's been in this organisation for a very long time, and I don't even think he's 30 years of age yet. Or if he is, he's just about 30. He's not even hit his prime. So I'm high on Kelvin.
Exciting. I'm very excited, man.
Yeah, to the absolute max. You haven't mentioned yet that I've done this whole thing pretty much with my lion paws on my hand.
Oh my God, I didn't... Wait, what? See, the camera quality's not like... Right now, it's really bad, so it just looks like a hand. I cannot tell for my life. Oh my God, now I see it.
That's a paw.
That is a paw. Oh my God. Your hands must... Yeah, especially your hands are that cold. But this is British winter for you.
So this is a throw. So this is actually a throw. This is from years ago, but it's come so in handy. I've brought it to the shed because it's a lion. But not only... So it's like a blanket essentially, but not only is it super soft, it also has hand mitts. So I've got it over my lap, and it's also got my hands, because my hands on the mic is solid metal, so they genuinely, and this isn't very interesting, but I've believe recently a lot of people have commented on how cold my hands are, and I'm starting to think that I've got poor circulation in them, because I get that
I don't have that problem, you know.
More
I really don't. I never get cold hands
than anyone gets. So
I'm immortal to that.
I've got them in the.
But you still, we're built different. You need the lion gloves, mate.
I'm thinking of dropping it all in the new year and going to Thailand for a month. To be perfectly honest, I think I am
just to get out of the winter for like a month.
No, 100%. Are
you being serious, or are you just chatting shit?
Why would I be joking?
Well, yeah, of course you wouldn't be. Yeah, to be fair, why not? Fuck it.
Why
not really for me personally. I'm not really. I'm not a heat. I couldn't do it personally. I'm not I'm not built for the heat. Nah, no, I could, just not for a month. I don't think. I could do a month actually, but like, I could spend a long period of time. I'm not built for the heat, man.
Places are as hot as you want to make them, first and foremost. So if you're staying in somewhere that's aircon, then you're just not outside in the heat when it's sort of blazing. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing that 100%. I thought about it so much. This last couple of weeks, it really
I'd like to do that in America for a bit. Just go along East Coast, you know, travel down a little bit, and then just take a laptop, mic, camera, so I can work from wherever, you know, and just get amongst it.
Well, that's my plan. Yeah, that's my plan. I wanna go to one of the gyms, likely Bang Tao, because obviously I know a few of them there at the coaching staff already, because I've been there, and obviously a few of the athletes as well. So I kind of want to go there, just film content for a month, just drink some mango smoothies, and by the time you get back, it's sort of spring, summertime, and it's not as horrible in the UK. And it's a great way of doing things.
That's not bad, isn't it?
It's a great way of doing things. It really is. If you can, and all jokes aside, that is one of the reasons. Like that exactly there is why I decided that I didn't want to go into a corporate job. That's why I decided that I want to try and do.
So you have that freedom.
Something, so I can do things like that. So that is exactly. They are exactly the reasons why I do what I do, or at least a part of it. You know? So, and now I'm at a point, thankfully, I can go and do that. Why not? You know, why not?
Yeah.
And I can just go and make some very good content out there that I'm enjoying. A lot more food content, a lot more in the training content more consistently. And then as well, I'll get to document my own journey because I'll definitely be training out there myself. So I'll get to sort of bring people along that process.
I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking about that as well, actually, just in terms of where the career is going to go in terms of just building out the channel. Because I was, you know, obviously my recent videos have actually done really well, recently, which has obviously been great for me. So I put an Alex Pereira video on Friday, which was been sitting in my bank. Yeah. So my reasoning for that, I couldn't really find a creative spark, trying to find a good idea. I was going to do a video on double champions, just talking about the idea of maybe we don't need super fights anymore and stuff, which I actually is an interesting point of like sort of topic. And then I was like, I just couldn't really get into the groove of writing. You ever feel like that? You know, you just can't, like for me, when I'm writing my scripts, I'm in that flow state. And, you know, I mentioned that before, and you're in there and you're speeding through it. Couldn't really get that. And I was on a Monday morning, I was sitting there like, I'm not feeling this today. So what I ended up doing was digging out my old Alex Pereira documentary sort of hot script I was working on. And I just rounded that off basically. It was about 2/3 done. So I was like, let's finish that off because this can be a good video. And I basically adapted it, took out some old stuff and made it into just sculpted it into more like my newer style. And I was really happy with it. You know, told me there's always things you can improve on, of course, but yeah, it's doing well. I think it's on like nearly 20,000 views now in like a day or two, which is awesome.
That's sick.
And then but I was looking at it and it was just like, this is something right. I looked at the revenue per se, and I'm happy to be open about all of that because it doesn't, you know, in terms of RPM, like I'm averaging about £5 per 1,000 views.
Wow,
you know, which is good.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, and that's for a 12-minute video. So you know that's 12 minutes. So if you're doing even longer and you're keeping that view duration up, you're getting a higher revenue per 1,000 views, and so it's something where it's starting to realistically becoming that I could actually do as a career. Like it always was that, and I always had that mindset, but now we're sort of seeing that happen. I was like looking, and I was like, I think in 2 years I could be, you know, I can move out within 2 years. I think in terms of, because obviously I'm only 21. I've just graduated, so I've got a little bit of leeway to work with. But that's the plan. So I want to be able to do that, and I'm just having that target outside of YouTube, and something where I actually want to achieve outside of YouTube is quite a healthy thing. It gives me a lot of extra motivation because it's something to work towards using this platform. So, you know, going to a bit of a life story here, but that's just something I'd like to achieve, and we're going towards, because I don't even work full-time hours right now. So I was thinking, I was like, you know, we're like what, 50%.
You have to.
I was like, we're not even at 50%. Like I was like, so I'm like, there's so many places to go here. Like, well, I thought the potential. If this is me now, just over a year in at 50%, you know, it's exciting.
And that's the question, really. Very cliche, but the question is essentially for all of us, for anyone that's listening, for myself, for yourself, is whatever you say that goal is. So essentially for you, at least in the sort of semi-short term, would be to move out. The next inevitable question, whatever your answer to that is, well, how badly do you want that? Because then there's different pillars to that. There's a pillar where it's
very true. It's a good question.
Then it's a pillar to, well, I like, it's not that bad, so XYZ amount of time, so I can continue doing this. And then there's another level to it. It was like, I really want that goal. I really badly want that goal. And it's like, right, okay, well, then we're gonna do this, reverse engineer it, and we're gonna do it in this amount of time. Because really, it is always a time thing. Things do take time. They do take years, but it can be micro speed. And I know for myself, you mentioned there about you sort of being at 50%. I think just going off the back of that for myself as well this week, that's definitely something that I've completely looked at across all of what I do, all my business. I sat down, had a call with one of my mentors, had a very long conversation just about everything. And then at the end, it sort of clicked where now basically all my time, all my attention, everything I do, literally everything I've done this last week has gone into making better and more TikTok videos, because
That's your path right now, isn't it?
now
That's
where that's been identified as the income for the business, and there's this very small window of opportunity where my skills and abilities overlap a good opportunity. I need to double, triple, quadruple down onto that. And so I've gone essentially just where I should have gone with everything originally, but I didn't really have that natural path, is straight obsession into that mode. So it's research around within the platform. It's extracting things out of that, like what are people doing, how are they doing it, looking for ideas, finding better ideas, working more on ideas, working on different sort of ways you can structure the video. I won't bore you with all the details, but essentially, yeah, just to triple down on it. And it's like, goes back to what I just said to you, is then I asked myself the question, well, what goal am I doing that with in mind? And I was like, right, okay, I know my goal. It's like, right, how badly do I want that goal now? And it's like, well, I tell myself I want it badly. It's like, right, okay, well, then there's no reason that when you get up, when you go to bed, we're going to do whatever we can to make better and more TikTok videos. So
yeah, that's no. I mean, that's a really good. It's sticking in my head about how bad do you want it, because that in itself, the sentence itself is kind of cliche, but when you really think about it, it is true, because the more effort you put in, you're gonna get there quicker. You're gonna get there quicker. You're willing to go all in on that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
This is how I've heard someone say it before, and I sort of do this to myself, right? So the way I originally heard it is, let's say you're offering someone a service for £200. The concept is, or the idea is, okay, let's imagine you had the budget of £20,000. What would you offer them in that service? And it just allows you to sort of brainstorm what you could do. So if I were to ask you the question, and you could definitely ask me, but I know I asked myself very recently, if I were to ask you the question, if that was the goal, right? Moving out was the goal, and you said to yourself, right, you, for whatever reason, the world was going to burn down, so you only have 12 months to do it. What would you do now to make that more achievable? What would that look like?
Well, it's something I'm already planning on doing, is going back to 2 videos a week. And that is a hell of a lot of work, because, but that would take up most of my time, because on top of I'm streaming as well, and the podcast. So that would be the main thing, would be effectively just doubling my YouTube output in terms of videos. It's a simple thing. So it's just instead of 1 12-minute video a week, you're doing 2. And it's a lot of work to do.
What stops you doing that now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just not wanting to burn out. There's a bit of a fear of burning out. And also I don't like, the reason I don't like doing, because when I was doing 2 videos a week, but they were short. It was an 8-minute video and a 4-minute video. I didn't like doing it because my attention was spread between 2 things. I had to worry about the next thing. But it's because I was spreading my time too thin. I was like, why don't I just get ahead of the curve, smash things out in one day, and then I have more space to work with on the other one. So it is a lot to do. Like two 12-minute videos on top of the streams, on top of the podcast, is a lot, but it is achievable. That would be closer to full-time hours if I was doing that. But
would just in answer to what we sort of spoke about with that before, is that the actual answer, or is it a case of you can continue? Because I know you said before you found that you could do better quality videos.
That's
right?
true,
Which
yeah.
ultimately equals money, let's just say in simple terms. Better videos, more money. So is it not actually better to, I don't know, I'm just answering here.
Do a big and even bigger
the
one.
one video,
yeah,
it just takes more time. It takes more idea generation. It takes more time researching, more thumbnail ideas that you can flick through and use to A/B test. More time on that one rather than 2. Just, I'm only going off of what you said to me
it's
before.
a very valid point as well. It's something to figure out. I think I'd much prefer doing that.
And that would be easier. No, like 900 times easier, right?
Yeah, because again, I like having my attention focused on one thing at a time. So where I'm working, I don't want to have to think about the other thing. Like, so I hate scheduling. So I'm like, right, before I had to get the video out, the first video out by Tuesday when I was doing 2 a week, and it was the little one. I had to get out before I felt like I had to do that before I could start working on the big one. And it was just frustrating because it felt like a roadblock and I didn't really enjoy doing it that much. But when I'm cultivating a piece, like I was getting into the editing a little bit more than I usually do, you know, on when I did the Pereira video. Because I love editing. Some bits I actually love doing is instead of I've started doing less is stripping a bit of my sorry, I'm rambling, stripping a bit of the script out, and then just replace showing and don't telling, you know, and really being a bit more cinematic with it, and using those bits from the countdown footage you can use, and I get the commentary tracks as well, just MP3s from the commentary tracks, and I start just putting pieces together, and then when you add the music in right at the end, then it starts to all come together beautifully. I love doing that, and I love because it becomes a cinematic piece that you're re-engineering what's already there, and you're just making it yours, and to tell a story, and I love doing that. So that stuff I really enjoy. So doing one video a week and really obsessing over that over the week would be, I enjoy it a lot more because it allows me to just express myself creatively. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I might start doing that. Because I mean, I know for the fact the MMA awards video I'm doing, that is going to be a long one because I started writing it this morning. And I'm already on 1,400 words. So, and we're not even close to being done. So, and usually my scripts are about 2,000. And I do a bit, you know, I compensate for about clips and stuff because obviously they take up runtime in the video, the more and more. So, you know, word count matters less nowadays than it used to for me. But this is going to be a long one. It's going to be, at least 20 minutes, I think. So we'll see. But you might be right. I think I might actually go with what you're saying. Keep doing the one video a week because I enjoy it a lot more. But just putting everything into it.
I've just found, for me,
so that was a long one.
No, you're good. I was just more so digesting what you said and just trying to find where I could find similarities because there were similarities, for me personally, because we talk about, so for you, let's say, you're talking about one YouTube video, and when I talk about one, let's just say on that one platform, right? So TikTok platform, one thing that I've never done, which I always knew that I needed to do, is be 100 million times more proactive with researching, finding out the why of things, doing more research and ideas, just understanding the reasoning behind everything way more, breaking down successful bits of content way more that I've done. And obviously you can't always overlook into these things and try and make the perfect video because it doesn't exist.
It's all about the idea. That's
it's definitely finding patterns. So this is what I'm saying, right? So even things like that, it's going away for me. What I've been doing now is spending so much more time on actually doing, like, looking at Google Trends, looking at keywords, looking at what has done well on this platform, what's done well on that platform. How can I re-engineer that so it would do better in a short form, that sort of thing. So really starting from the idea as the most important thing. And then from there, trying to work on the smaller details, subtitles, headings, thumbnails, timings, how many different images, different reference points on the screen, a million times things. And then trying to find small patterns and similarities. And then once you start seeing more go viral, do better, you can sort of start seeing that a little bit clearer.
Yeah, I mean, I've started doing that recently, actually, because I know you mentioned to me we were talking about titles and just formatting and packaging the video. You said that to me the other day on Instagram. That's an interesting point. And I said to you, the reason I didn't change it, and I did change
the title.
The thumbnail as well. But I mean, both together.
And I didn't hate it, by the way. I want to say that on record.
No, of course. But I mean, I'm telling the premise of I was just sticking to the principle which I learned, which I always just did. I was just doing what works. I did that for my Mythical Fighters video and had success with it. I had a Mythical Fighters video which smashed my view records, did really well. So I was like, let's just do another one. So I just did part 2 and another 64,000 views. So I was like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, sometimes the answer is staring you right in the face. No, I did the same thing 100%. For my Ian Garry one. That was more really good timing because I got just ahead of the curve. You know, we can actually talk about it if we want, but honestly, I'm not really asked about it. I think it's all a bit ridiculous because most of my video I talked about just was really about the fighting more than anything.
Oh.
But because but like people, I don't know if you care about any of that really, but
no, obviously not.
No, exactly. To be honest, I find it all a little bit weird that Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Why do you find it weird? I find it funny. I
It's
do
funny,
find it
but
funny.
it is entertaining because along the line, yeah, it's something that's a bit different. But at the same time, like, I don't know, people are so obsessed with fighters' personal lives all the time. I just, it's whatever, man.
I don't think
does
they
what it
are
wants.
that. I don't. We can't call that personal life. Let's be honest. We can't call Ian Garry and his.
Yeah.
First of all, his wife, now wife, is a public figure, has been for a very long time, is in her own right.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll go there. Let's go. Let's go right now.
But she's fairly famous anyway.
Yeah.
They're a very public relationship that often speak about their relationship and all these things. And I'm a big fan of Ian Garry. But
yeah, same. I like him.
You can't preface all of this by saying, I don't know why people talking about his personal life. I 100% know. The woman's
no, I know why they're doing it.
She's wrote a book
I don't know, man.
on the very thing that they're talking about now in videos. And the internet, come on.
Quite funny.
That's low-hanging fruit. You can't give the internet
is funny. It is funny. It's obvious, yeah.
Can't give the internet that.
No, mate, I don't blame the internet for going after it. I don't know. I just think I do actually think a lot of the hatred but because this whole thing, I do think it's overblown massively purely on the basis because people just don't like Ian Garry as is because of this whole
100%.
I think it's a bit. You put someone like, if that was Alex Pereira hypothetically, like, I know there's a weird fighter comparison, but you put him in those same shoes, no one would really give a fuck. Yeah, but this is an extreme comparison. That's my point. That's what I'm saying. It's an extreme.
Would be the last person to be in these shoes.
Charles Oliveira. But that's my point. The last person to be in the shoes. You put them in there, it doesn't make sense. Like, no one's really gonna care. I just don't really. He can do what he wants, man. Like, at the end of the day, like, if he starts knocking people out and he wins the belt, he's gonna garner the respect of most people anyway. And I like watching him fight. And I think he does all the right things on the microphone. People say, "Oh, he's an asshole," or whatever, man. But like, of course he is. He's playing up to it. He's confident 100%. And he's just playing that role as he should. So, strictly speaking, in fight terms, I think he's doing the right things.
You can't win. You're not confident. People say you need to be more confident to sell fights. You are confident. People tell you you're too confident, cocky, and arrogant. There's no middle ground. You can't win. It's the internet. Even the nicest people will be slandered many times.
Actually, I've got a good one. So I had a guy comment on my video. This guy, if he listens, I doubt he's listening to this, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me because this guy is like my biggest hater. No, trust me. He's like,
you got your
every
first
video
hater.
Recently.
Nice.
Every video he's there just insulting me. He says
he
Leo. He just says Leo and then puts in quotations and then puts an insult and then Cooper as if it's like my nickname or something. And he's there every video.
What was his recent one?
Oh, this one, he called me a 300-pound virgin. And I was like, right then. So I was like, cheers, mate. Thanks for that. And I can't remember what he put. He put something similar on the one before that, but that's like 3 videos in a row now. He pulls up and he just comments that and
that's
then
nice.
doesn't elaborate. So I've thought about putting the comment, actually. I might do that.
100%. 100%. When I first started creating content and I got no traction, if I got the odd hate comment, I was like, oh, phew, I've got a bit of engagement finally.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I was responding to those.
When I first started getting hate, like for the first time having it pissed me off, and then after that I was fine. But I got used to it very quickly. I don't care now. Do you know what I mean?
And don't get me wrong, it feels like I used to be so the opposite person to ever wanting to be online or caring to be online, but I ultimately knew I never wanted to be that person, but I ultimately knew it was what was necessary for what I wanted to do down the line.
That's same. I've started to realize that as well.
To some extent. I just did. I just knew it was when I was watching those programs when I was a kid with my mum where they would travel around the world and meet these people, talk to these people and eat different foods and whatnot. They were always on camera and I always saw them and I was like, yeah, I'll probably do that. Like I want to do that. And so I was always sort of knew that was the case, but I don't like it, never did like it. But when I first started getting it, this is when I was at fitness way back when. Yeah, it's weird. It's a strange feeling. You feel worse about yourself because everyone feels bad about themselves anyway. Most people do. So you start feeling worse as an insecure male, you know, you start
Of
feeling worse
course,
about
yeah.
yourself. And then it gets to a point, where I know it did for me, and hopefully it does for most people, where honestly now I could see to the point of, to be perfectly honest, to the point of now that in TikTok, for example, if someone writes a really hateful, horrible
Oh,
comment,
you're gonna get. I bet you get loads on there as well. I feel like TikTok's a lot worse than YouTube.
it doesn't go into the mainstream of comments, so you have to go review comments, then accept it. So I have ones now that sometimes they'll be horrible, and I'm going in
For
there
real,
reviewing it.
I barely get any. That's why, because
Mate,
obviously most of my videos are faceless. So
in truth, I'll be very honest. You don't get any. If you're not an idiot,
yeah,
like
I
you
don't get that
any.
many. I had a couple in my live stream just started chatting shit, but I just kind of brush it off in it. Like I roll with it because it's like whatever. Honestly, I wish I remembered. So I know it's funny, and I really, as someone said, I really wish I remember what somebody said. They just like I'd never seen. They just came into my stream first coming there, and they're just like slagging me off, and I wish I remember what it was specifically. But like, I just kind of laughed. I laughed it off because you can't give them that. Do you know what I mean?
On a serious
Yeah.
note, right? On a serious note, because we can joke about it and say it doesn't affect us and different things like this. The truth of it is, at least the way I see it, is firstly for me personally, I'm hyper self-aware. Pretty self-aware. All the bad bits, trust me, I've thought about once or many times. So you're not catching me off guard with anything. So first of all, I'm never caught off guard. You know, like no one's ever saying something about me visually, verbally, whatever it is that I've not probably heard. So it's not really that deep for me originally. But second to that as well, you start getting to this point where, firstly, I do genuinely believe if more people did what they enjoy, there'd probably be nicer people on a more consistent basis.
I think that's a good outlook.
And they'd probably be a little bit happier, at least anyway. And second to that, I look at it for me personally and I think, right, I told myself there's nothing I want to be doing more than X, Y, Z right now. Now, I'm not necessarily doing Z to the highest level that I see in my head, but at a basic level, I'm basically talking about MMA, and that's my job. I travel to places, talk MMA, and that's my job. Like that's what I wanted to do. That's pretty cool. Like that person is only in some way jealous. It's just true. It's just true. They're only in some way jealous. However small of a piece that is, whether it's the fact that you have the balls to put content online, whether it's the fact that you have the balls to quit your job and not do it, whether it's the fact that you pursuing a passion, whether it's you having a passion, whatever that may be, it's a very underseated tone of jealousy. And the reason I know that is because never once have I ever felt like I wanted to go on to someone else's profile and insult them and say something horrible.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, you try and put yourself in those shoes, you just
strange.
Can't do it.
It's strange. And I like to even go the other way with it and say something maybe positive, to be perfectly honest. I think that's a better way to go about it if you can, but that's only if that's inherent to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's
no,
you can't force that.
It is weird because I had
that.
The first one I had, and I still remember it. Shout out to this guy because it was so random. Like my third video or something, and he was just like, I think I mentioned this before. I wish I remember the exact thing he said, but he basically just insulted my voice, and I was just like, bro, it was like. I was like, I don't even. I keep in mind, like, I don't show my face on my videos just because it doesn't fit it. It's not obviously I live stream all the time, but it's like, what are you coming for, bro? Just insulting my voice, and I was like, that got to me because I was like, you're looking for anything just to piss me off, and you went for the one thing that you could actually attack on a personal front. Do you know what I mean? Which is weird. And I was like, my voice ain't that bad. So it bothered me for like a day, and then afterwards I found it funny, and then honestly since then. Most of the stuff that I actually does get on my nerves is stuff when they're generally just criticizing the content rather than critiquing it. It's just like brain dead just slagging it off rather than critiquing. That annoys me because when it's your work, you work hard, you do take pride in it, you know.
100%. But then again, you can't put much weight into that. Nor can you put much weight into the truth is what we sort of spoke about before. It's that case of you can't get too high, you can't get too low. If someone puts a nice thing. It's not good, but I don't get any feeling from it. I don't get any good feeling. I don't get any sense. I feel numb. Yeah. In truth,
no, I do for the most part.
Last thing I'll say on this, I don't know if there'll be many people out there that agree or can mimic this or whatnot, but I've not been making content in the general scheme of things as long as some people have been doing it 20 plus years, like actually on camera,
exactly.
documented
We're
and
so
whatnot.
young in this game.
So I started doing it consistently in 2020, right? So that's the better part of 4 years now.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
When in 2020? I thought you started 2021.
No, but I started making fitness content way back when. I started
right, yeah,
filming
cool.
myself and doing all different bits of content. But my point is now, if I went back and counted, there were probably, I think you can check, there's probably between all the platforms, 7,000+ posts between all of them. Something crazy. So after you've done that many, no one, firstly, on the internet surprises you. And number two, you just become very numb to it all. Numbers, comments, bad things, good things. You don't have the time, and you definitely don't have the emotional capacity to have a feeling about every comment. You don't, because otherwise you would spend so much energy. And you hear a lot of people say this, and sometimes you're like, what does it mean? But it's because it takes feeling, it takes energy, it takes work, it takes feeling in your body
you just need to put
create
that into something
this.
else.
And it's not worthwhile it being there. And once you see so many and thousands across the years, you just get this very nothing approach to it, where it doesn't subtract any energy or time, because it can't. It's just almost a waste, you know? So we've gone on a bit of a tangent on that, but it's important.
How do you reckon Ian Garry deals with all that then?
Mate, I don't know, because that's difficult, right?
No,
it's difficult,
yeah.
because people like that, they go out and, now it's not saying we come out and go, oh, we're trying to be perfect human beings. No, not at all. We're not even trying to keep to a certain standard at all. You know what I mean? But the point is we're not going out looking just for ag in our inbox. You'll sometimes get it just from people being malicious on the internet. But with someone like that sort of character, that sort of persona, that sort of attention, his inbox will be so flooded with abuse and bad images and horrible things that it would be tough. It would be tough, because you can't go anywhere in your life where you're not seeing it ultimately. So,
just as a last thing, quickly, just on that topic, just before we close up, what do you think about the legal action, the legal threats? What's your 2 cents on that?
bro, come on.
Come
on. Sean Strickland. First and foremost, he didn't actually even say anything bad. That was one of his least offensive tweets.
Yeah,
his standards, like by anyone's standards, that was fairly mediocre. For Sean, that was a compliment.
Another day at the office, yeah.
That was actually almost a lovely message someone sent him. It was close to having a kiss at the end of it. My point is, don't start all that. Don't start all that. If you give it the talk, and I'm a huge Ian Garry fan, I love what he does on the mic, love it or hate it. Guess what we're doing? We're talking about it.
I say that all the time.
We're talking about him, and we're talking about him in the same conversation as Leon, as Conor McGregor, as all these different people. We're just stirring their names together.
He's in that conversation, regardless of whether you're comparing him to not, or you think he's, exactly. And his name's there.
Their name is in the same conversation. And I heard someone say the other day, last thing I'll say, because I know I'm banging on, but last thing I'll say on that is, heard someone say the other day, to the casual fan, they don't know that Ian Garry's XYZ and Leon, they don't know that. They just hear their names in the same conversation and think, oh, this Ian Garry person's sort of must be or near fighting the champion. And they just make these weak associations because their names are caught up in the same sentences, which is very true. So you get someone like Ian, big win over Vicente Luque. You're telling me that Leon Edwards fight isn't a million miles away?
I don't think it is, I think maybe 1 or 2 more fights, you give him that shot. It's a fun one as well. And it sells itself now. I think it's that smart, exactly. You can talk all you want about, Ian being the villain here in that sort of story, but he wouldn't care either way. Because if he ends up fighting Leon, which could very realistically happen, selling like hotcakes, man. I mean, and that, they'll promote the hell out of that. The UFC, they're very good at their promo game. They'll all lean into that massively. It's a no-brainer for me. So it's a win-win for both guys. And I whether Ian actually wins that fight is another question. I'm sure we'd probably be talking about it down the line. I'd say no, but stylistically, it's one of the toughest fights for Leon in that division, just because of the way they match up. I mean, I don't know if you think the same, but that's how I feel. I think when you look at the rest of that welterweight top 10, top 15, I think Ian Garry's one of the hardest fights for him, just on a stylistic front.
Yeah, that's a convo for another day. Let's see him get through Vicente Luque.
Yeah,
Let's
which
see
I do
him
think he will, by the way. We'll
make
do,
sure
obviously,
he
we'll get to our
moves his
predictions of
head
that
off
next
the
week.
centre line and whatnot. Let's make sure he does all that first, and then we'll start talking about the pound for pounds.
Yes, sir.
Because that's who we've got in conversation.
Yeah, it's very.
Any other major topics to cover before we wrap it?
Honestly, it's been weirdly quite a chill week for MMA.
Johnny Walker noncing.
Oh yeah, shit. No, apparently he's not noncing. Apparently, still cheating on his wife though. So not great from Johnny. Not noncing though, thankfully.
Just the simple, pure adultery.
Just the adultery, yeah. Just the infidelity. Stand up. We can't actually. I said we have a chill week. It's literally not been a chill week. It's not even a chill week.
Whatsoever.
Chill week in the sense that we haven't seen any violence. You know.
I watched them last night. Chantel Cameron.
Oh,
Katie
what a
Taylor
fight! No, yeah, we'll quickly run through that. Yeah. Oh, what a fight that was!
Did you
I completely
watch that?
forgot about it. Yeah, I watched it. I love watching Katie Taylor fight. That fight against Amanda Serrano is one of my favorite boxing fights of all time. Have you seen the last? Go back and watch the last 30 seconds of that fight. It'll blow your fucking mind. I don't know if you watched it live, but man, that Chantel Cameron's the rematch was fucking awesome, man. Loved it. All business from Katie. I mean, I'm not huge on boxing, but like Katie Taylor's one of the few boxers I always tune to watch because she's just a slugger, man. She just goes in there and just wails on people. I love it. Just beautiful footwork as well. She's really good on just staying away from the corner and just bobbing in and out and hitting her with those sort of flurries. I'm not going to get too technical. Crazy hand speed.
Hand speed was fast.
Great fight. Honestly, the women don't get enough respect.
37 years of age as well. So losing that fight that she just did against a younger, heavier champion, coming out, then going back to her home crowd, because she'd done that in her home crowd. Yeah. Where she could have taken an easy fight, like anyone would have done. She could have taken an easy fight in the home crowd, knocked her out, went home. But that's not the sort of competitor that Katie Taylor is, and that's not who she's shown to be. So she asked for the rematch. She does nothing but apparently train 9 hours a day, every day. Her hands get a lot quicker. She's getting older. She comes back in front of a sold-out crowd. And
crazy.
I've never watched a fight where I thought every punch was going to knock them out, because there was so much energy going behind the shots, that a combination of her landing big shots and the crowd cheering so loudly, I thought everything was just going to knock her out.
That was an interesting point, though, was with the contention of, I think there's obviously the judges were going to be in favor of Katie because of the crowd. I did have Katie winning the fight. Let's not get so. I don't know if that's what I was going to ask you, just leading into.
Bro, it's only rounds, and we don't score it. We have no idea.
I had rough scoring, but I had Katie winning it maybe by 2 or 3 rounds.
I end up watching a boxing fight and think, I always happens. First of all, when it went to the end, I thought, all the commentary sort of sending her goodbye, saying that she's won. I think this is going to be closer than they think.
Oh, see, I thought Katie won it pretty soundly, but.
No, I thought it was going to be, because this is what everyone always says, the mistake everyone always makes. And even though I'm new to the game, I seem to learn it pretty quickly. Yeah, if it's close, but I think you know a winner, that might go the other way, or likely go the other way. And it does all the time. So when I watched that fight and I thought, I think Katie wins.
The moment the other judge said 98-92, I knew they were going to give it to Kay, though. That was, I feel like, because it was 95-95.
First one was a draw.
Yeah, then
but some people had Chantel Cameron winning. They did.
That's fine. I think it was just a great fight.
It was a good
honestly,
fight.
I turned my brain off in terms of trying to score it, and I was just like, let me just enjoy. Because I'm not that invested in boxing as much as I am. So I was like, let me just enjoy this, because this is just fun as hell. And they were going at it for 10 rounds. I just wish they were 3-minute rounds. That's it, man. I don't know why it's such an archaic rule that women can only fight 2-minute rounds. I don't know why they haven't changed that. That's the one thing you have to give the UFC credit for, is they don't really discriminate in that regard at all. So
they want to get their money's worth.
Yeah. I mean, it's a rule that needs changing. I mean, it is, though. Like on a serious note, just to finish off, that is something I do hope they change the next couple of years, because women's boxing is, I actually feel like it commands a level of respect, and it gets a lot of respect, way more than the women do in MMA. I feel like a lot of the time there's a lot of it does. In terms of from fans. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think women's MMA is the butt of many jokes. Let's be real.
I guarantee it is in boxing.
Not as much. No way.
Guarantee it is.
I don't think it's in as much.
Because there's a lot. listen, I don't know. The only reason I'm saying that is just because of how many people I see making content, breakdown videos, talking about women's MMA at the highest of levels. So we're
Of
talking
course,
the
yeah.
Vals and the Nunez's and the Erin Blanchfields and people like that, very high level guys, girls. But and we think how many main events we see. How many main events do we see women's boxing? I don't know the answer.
No,
But
that's
is there
true.
as many?
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
women's
I do.
MMA
Sorry.
all the time.
Yeah, no, that's the fair. I didn't disagree with that. I meant just in terms of from a fan perspective, because I think the UFC do an excellent job of pushing it, rightfully as they should, because it's the only way you're really going to get that. You're going to get that side of the sport to progress is to push it. You know, you're going to get women, the next generation of women, going in and training MMA from a young age.
The next
Uh,
generation of woman. I don't know why
yeah,
that made me laugh. Saying it
you
like
know what
that,
I'm
but it
saying
just
though,
did.
like
Yeah, no, I
a
get you.
female fighters coming through and you know upping that
No,
sort
for
of
sure.
standard, because obviously I don't think the standards there in terms of the way the men's is as a whole. Obviously, the elite level of women is excellent, but it's not representative of everybody in that sort of top 15 and further. But as the sport goes, we'll see that though. That's why you need to push this side of the sport. So I think the UFC do a really good job of it. But I was just thinking from a fan perspective, like people take the piss out of women's MMA all the time. I think far more than boxing does. I don't see anyone taking the piss out of Katie Taylor last night, and I
Oh,
know that's the highest of
that's
levels, but
yeah, like what a ridiculous comparison. Obviously not. No
no,
one's
but
taking a piss out of Amanda
even in general, I
Nunes.
don't see many people doing it, but with even maybe the lesser
I
known
guess
women's
we don't
boxers
really
either,
know.
though.
We're not really
But yeah,
tapped
we're a bit
into
more
it.
uneducated. Yeah,
You know what I
but
mean?
it's an interesting conversation, though. There's
True.
definitely something there. But yeah, this has been the MMA Critics podcast. I'm Leo. That's Will. We're not plugging, as I said, because you know where to find us. We'll see you next Sunday. Yeah.